to the Loki vlog. This is the first video on how the Loki blanket was made. Any thoughts, problems, tips or tricks that I learn along the way, I'll try to include in these update videos. As you might be able to tell, my printer ran out of ink, so I had to fill in some of the areas with felt pen before I started attaching the pages together. The pattern printed out over 9 pages, so I had to cut them down to the correct size. Then had to line them up with the other squares to complete the pattern. I stuck these together using tape. However, there is a downside to doing this, as it stops you from marking off when you have completed a stitch. At this point here, I'm just reinforcing the back just to make sure that the pages don't come unstuck, and lessening the amount of tape that's on the front. And here you can see the final crochet pattern. So when I created this chart from Stitch Fiddle, I forgot to change one of the options. One of those options was the number of colours actually used in the chart. If I had picked 2 colours, I would have only have had black squares and white squares. Unfortunately, because I didn't change this, it has printed out some grey and very light grey squares. So I had to make a decision whether or not to include these when making the blanket. So once I'd decided which greys I was going to keep and which greys I was going to lose, I could carry on doing my colour changes. So here is the work so far. starting at this edge here, making my way up along to this edge here. I'm carrying on with the green from the previous row. And I'm going to start by chaining 6. I'm going to do a double crochet into the 4th stitch from the hook, one in the 5th and another in the 6th. I'm going to turn the work and do a slip stitch into the chain 3 from the previous row. I'm going to do a chain 3 and then 3 double crochets into the same stitch. And that is one square completed. I'm moving on to the next square, chain 3 and then 3 double crochets into that same stitch, which then completes another square. That's 3 squares in total. Chain 3 and then 3 double crochets. At this point I'm just checking that I do actually need 4 or 5. I only need 4. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take out that last double crochet. I'm going to do half the double crochet. So I'm going to finish with 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to bring in the gold yarn. I'm going to finish that double crochet with the gold yarn, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 3. During the whole of this project I'm going to try to keep all the yarn going to one side of the work, which would be the back side of the work. So I'm hoping that when this is completed you won't be able to tell much of a difference between the front and the back. So I'm just going to continue here doing a chain 3 and 3 double crochets to complete each square. I'm introducing a new ball of yarn so we don't have to carry the work up and down the blanket. So I've introduced in the same manner as I did when changing from green to gold. So at this point of the work I have got 3 balls of yarn attached to the blanket. As you can see here, I have a pink stitch marker. This pink stitch marker shows the right side of my work, so all of my ends can be on the wrong side of the work. This also shows me what is the long right hand side of my blanket as well. The long right hand side of this blanket is going to be longer than the bottom of the blanket. The bottom is only going to be about 80 stitches or 80 squares across, and the top of the blanket, or the right hand side of the blanket, is going to be something like 120 stitches high, or 120 squares high. I'm going to start decreasing on the bottom edge before I start decreasing on the top edge, so having the marker showing you where the bottom or the right hand side is helpful for that purpose. I am also not a fan of tying in ends at the end of the project. I like to do it as I'm going. So there are occasions when the blanket looks exactly the same on both the front and the back side. So having that stitch marker there helps you figure out what is your right side and what is your wrong side.